and welcome. You're listening to the X22 Report. My name is Dave, and this is episode 1172, and today's date is January 8th, 2017, and the title of the episode is The Current Economic Collapse News Brief. Let's get right into the economic collapse news. Now, on Friday, we talked about how the corporate media, especially John Harwood, was doing a survey on who do you believe? Do you believe the intelligence agency, or do you believe WikiLeaks? And we can see with about 84,000 or so votes that came in on Twitter, the results are 83% believe WikiLeaks, 17% believe the U.S. intelligence agencies. Now, Lou Dobbs from Fox News decided to do his own poll on Twitter also. And it says, who do you believe on the Russian hacking allegations? Do you believe President Obama? Or do you believe Julian Assange? Now, these individuals, they're surprised at these results because with the question on who do you believe on the Russian hacking allegations, 6% believe Obama. 94% believe Julian Assange. So what is happening here is the elite have lost touch of what is really going on in America and how many people are actually waking up and realizing they're lying to us. And they know this. This is what should make everyone worried right now. Because they can't tell the truth. They are going to tell a lie on top of a lie. And if they don't get their way, they're going to push an event. Now, we see in the last 14 days, Obama and the Department of Homeland Security, well, they released a statement saying they're going to do something very interesting. They are going to declare the election system as a critical infrastructure, part of the critical infrastructure of the United States. They will take control of the storage facilities, the polling places, the centralized voting tabulation locations, voter registration databases, voting machines, and all other systems to manage the election process. What do you think they're doing right now? They're getting ready to control all elections. That's what they're really doing. They're using the Russian hacking, this gigantic lie, this gigantic piece of propaganda to control the entire system, which means, from now on, it will be completely manipulated moving forward. Unless things are turned around. But at this point, they are looking to take control of everything. Now, out in Libya, we see the UN-backed government, well, they're getting nervous. Oil is being shipped out, not under the central bank, not under their reign, and they are looking to take control of these two ports. They declared these two ports force majeure, and they are saying that they need to stop this. Now, what's really happening is the people inside of Libya, they are selling the oil, not using the dollar. And guess what? The central bankers, they don't like this. Turkey agrees to pull back some troops from Iraq, proof that they are shifting their policy right now. And it looks like there was a cyber attack in Turkey, which we mentioned a couple reports ago. And right now, Turkey is turning around and blaming the United States for all of this, saying they are the ones who cyber attacked our power grid. Almost like the United States has turned around and blamed Russia. And they're saying that the U.S., they were the ones who actually cyber attacked their energy grid. They're saying they stopped it. Now, again, once again, it's very difficult to prove a cyber attack. This is what Turkey is saying. We know there's a lot of events happening inside of Turkey ever since Turkey switched from the U.S. and the coalition forces over to Russia. Because as we know, Turkey is moving closer and closer to Russia. And it just so happens when they started the process, we saw a coup d'etat inside Turkey. We saw many events inside of Turkey. After Turkey decided we're going to sign the Turkish Stream pipeline. We saw another event when they said they were going to use the Russian Air Force to back their attacks. We saw another event. So we can see what's happening right now is that the United States is putting pressure on Turkey. And we're seeing many countries turn away from the United States government central bankers. And I'm not saying they're turning away from the people of the United States. They're turning their backs on the neocons, the elites. They see the writing on the wall. They see the dollar is at its endgame. They see the power in the Middle East is slipping through the elite, the neocons' fingers. And they realize eventually what's going to happen. They will have no power out there. But again, you have to remember the elite, the establishment, the neocons, central bankers, they're not going to stop. They like to keep control. Now, we understand on Friday there was a shooting in the Fort Lauderdale airport, and they're saying that it is this individual who went around shooting individuals, took his gun out of his luggage because it was packed in his luggage because he had a flight from Canada down to Fort Lauderdale, went into the bathroom, took the gun out, loaded it up, started shooting people. And what we've learned so far is that the story is really not making sense the way the corporate media is explaining it. And what we're seeing is that this individual, well, it looked like he was under the control of certain agencies. But let's start from the beginning here. We understand on December 14th, Obama, he resubmitted the UN Arms Trade Treaty. Back at this point in time, we knew that there was going to be some type of event. We didn't know where, we didn't know when, but we knew from that point to the point where Trump is going to be inaugurated, we knew something was going to happen. Then the Russian hacking was ongoing at this point. The CIA was out there, telling people that yes, Russia, they affected the elections, they manipulated it, and people were asking for proof over and over and over. And we know that they didn't give proof to anyone. Congress asked for it. The electors wanted to be briefed. It didn't happen. And what happened was Trump said, finally, listen, let's see the proof. And he was scheduled to see this on Wednesday. And the CIA delayed it until Friday. And of course, Trump tweeted out, that's very odd. Why would they do this? And then, of course, during this time period, Obama got to see the intel. It was leaked to NBC News and other corporate media news sites. And then Trump finally got to see it on Friday. And this is when we had the shooting. And on the same day of the shooting, we also had the certification of Trump as the president. So we know this was used as a distraction. And we have to remember something about Florida. Florida is a conceal and carry state. Except where? The airport, which is very interesting because that's where the shooting took place. And if you've ever been to the Fort Lauderdale airport, there's the bottom is the baggage claim area. The top is the ticketing area where you go in and you go through the gates. And when you drive around Fort Lauderdale airport, there are Broward Sheriff police cars at every single terminal. Actually, if you go into each terminal, there is Broward Sheriff on each floor, which this is kind of odd anyway, that this individual was able to take his weapon out, pull it, and there were no Broward police anywhere in sight when this was happening. So did they get called away? Did something happen? Well, it's starting to look like this whole thing was completely planned. Now, this individual, Esteban Santiago, well, he received 11 awards. One of them was the Global War on Terrorism Service Medal. So he's a war hero. And what we're seeing right now is the corporate media, when the shooting happened, they took his picture, they made it black and white, and they made him look more Middle Eastern, even though he's not. So they wanted that Muslim feel, they wanted that ISIS feel, and that's why they turned it into black and white. They changed how he looked. And when you look at him in color, with an everyday normal picture instead of the one the corporate media is using, you can see that he is not Middle Eastern at all. Now, what's very interesting about all this, they're saying that he flew in from Canada, went into the Fort Lauderdale airport, he checked his weapon and his ammunition, he went into the bathroom, took it out, loaded it up, and started shooting people. And then he laid down his weapon after his bullets were done, and he was waiting to be surrendered, which is kind of strange. And there were witnesses out there who were saying that, well, he wasn't the only one. There were other individuals running around with what looked like ARs or rifles. And they were running around the airport. There were 2 witnesses. And they're saying that this is very odd because there were individuals that were running around and these people spotted them. Now, what's very interesting about this is that there was no record of him being on a flight whatsoever from Canada flying into Fort Lauderdale. They're also saying that he had some type of psychological problems. He was hearing noises. Now, we know many of these individuals who might have psychological problems could be on SSRIs where you hear voices in your head, and this is what he was saying. Now, this is what the corporate media is out there trying to convince us of. And what we see right now is that when he was captured, he was saying that the intelligence agencies, they were conditioning him to become ISIS. They kept on showing him films over and over and over. He met with intelligence agencies, and he was being brainwashed into becoming ISIS. Now, this is very odd. And according to the FBI office in Anchorage, Alaska, they're saying last November, he walked into their FBI office claiming that his mind was being controlled by the CIA, that it was forcing him to join ISIS. He appeared agitated, incoherent, made disjointed statements, and although he said he didn't wish to hurt anyone, agents were concerned about his erratic behavior and decided to call local authorities. And the local authorities, well, they picked him up and they took him to a local medical facility for evaluation. And the FBI closed its assessment of Santiago after conducting database reviews, interagency checks, and interviews with family members, and they saw there was no other cases that he was having any type of a problem or anything else. So this looks like it was a complete setup. Now, at the same time this was all happening, there were other individuals saying there was some type of drill happening in, I think, Terminal 1. So this whole entire story is falling apart. It doesn't make sense. And the information that we're getting really doesn't jive with what is happening. Now, we can see what happened here. This individual was being groomed for some type of mass shooting. Now, it looks like they needed him to distract the entire population from what was going to happen with Trump seeing the intel report. And we can see that Obama is trying to continually push his gun control because he resubmitted the UN Arms Trade Treaty. Now, is this the last mass shooting we'll see until he leaves office? Well, we don't know just yet. But what's very interesting about all of that is that Obama put out an op-ed for Harvard on Thursday talking about gun control measures and how people need to have common sense about reducing gun violence. And that was published right before we had this shooting. So a lot of these things aren't making sense. The story coming out of the corporate media, the story coming out of the government doesn't make sense. And we're starting to see that the elite, they are becoming desperate right now. They are desperate, and we're going to see more events as we move forward because we can see already that Trump will be sworn in. We know there's protests going to happen in Washington. We know people are going to be out there. Unless he is assassinated, He will be sworn in as president. Now, the elite, the establishment, the central bankers know this. And they are setting everything up to bring this system down. They've already set it up to make everyone believe that Russia is hacking. Remember, they don't need proof. All they need is the propaganda to convince most of America. Most of America, when they're looking at the corporate media, reading it in newspapers, they don't see the retraction of a story was fake or phony or false. All they see is the headlines. All they hear are the headlines on the news. And they believe Russia has been hacking the United States. It's been hacking the power grid. It's been hacking Ontario power grid system. That's all they hear. So they've been setting this up so they can prepare and push forward their event. Because we know right now, when we look at all the economic data is not showing that we're in a strong economy. The economic data is showing that this economy is falling apart. And what we're going to see, just like in 2008, things are going to unravel very, very quickly. And the system is going to come down. And most likely it's going to come down under Trump. And of course, what's going to happen at this point is as the system starts to implode, they need distractions. They need to shift everyone's attention away. And it looks like this is what they're preparing to do. Listen, everyone, thanks a lot for listening. Be well, be safe, and especially be prepared. Thanks a lot.